On today's episode of Locked On Blues, we're talking about the NHL All-Star Game, the skills competition with the new exciting outdoor events, question mark. Talking about the Super Bowl, Tom Brady's retirement, lots of fun stuff. Grab bag episode today, a lot of time without hockey, so stay tuned. It's going to be a good one.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Locked On Blues podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and your number one source for daily Blues content. I'm Josh Hyman.
And I'm Thomas Welch.
And today's episode is admittedly all over the place. First of many days without Blues hockey, so we're going to kind of try to keep it light, touch on a few other subjects that we don't typically touch on. Usually it's all Blues all the time here, but figured what better time than the All-Star break to touch a little bit on the All-Star game, but also get into some football. You know, Super Bowl's right around the corner, and the greatest player of all time, Tom Brady, just announced his retirement. So going to be touching on all different sorts of subjects today. But first, want to thank anyone and everyone out there for making Locked On Blues your first listen. We are free and available on all podcast platforms. All right, Tommy, before we get too far off topic with talking football and stuff, there is an All-Star game coming up for the NHL in Las Vegas. Lots of promotion there. Jordan Kyrou will be in the fastest skater competition. Jordan Kyrou will be in the All-Star game. What are you excited to see?
I think I'm most excited to see Jordan Kyrou in the speed competition, right? Because
Yes,
in
sir.
years past we had Jordan Binnington and beat the streak, and he won it, so that was entertaining. But I think the fastest skater is a different level, right? Stat today that had contestants in the fastest skater clocked at their highest game speeds this season. Top of the list was Timo Meyer, actually. But what was interesting to me is that the speed at which some of these guys play their games at, and Jordan Kyrou's speed, I think, was 23.9 miles per hour. That was his highest game speed, and Connor McDavid's was 24.1. So I'm not saying Jordan Kyrou's the next Connor McDavid, but
Connor
stats
McDavid's the
don't
next
lie.
Jordan Kyrou.
Stats don't lie. Yeah, stats don't lie. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really exciting. I feel like for the past few years, we've been so used to seeing, Tarasenko, O'Reilly, Binnington, all-stars that are sort of, they come into the league, come into the Blues, and you know what you're getting out of them. It's kind of nice to see a bit of a flipping of the script where the Blues have one of their young guys joining the All-Star game. I feel like every time this year comes around, I look at the other rosters, other teams' All-Star players, and I'm like, dang, that guy's like 22, 23, and he's an all-star. I'm jealous of, insert other team here. And this year we got our young stud Jordan Kyrou representing the St. Louis Blues, moving away from the veterans. I feel like a perfect example of how the leadership is sort of, not the leadership maybe, but the skill and the offensive impact is being transferred from the older guys to this younger generation of stars. But there another big announcement of the All-Star Games. There's going to be a couple outdoor events in the skills competition. I'm not too familiar. I didn't read up on what they are. I don't know if you know, Tom. You want to fill in me and all our lovely listeners at home?
I know there's one that they're by the fountains, I think, which we might have to do a little bit more research on. But there's one also that they're supposed to shoot at like a giant board of cards, right? And that are like turned over so they can't see. So it's just the back of the card. And so they shoot at a card and then they obviously get like a card face, and it's basically blackjack, but they're shooting at the cards that they pick. So you want to get like 3 cards or however many cards without busting, and then you move on to the next round. And eventually there's crowned a winner. And I think that they came up with a special name for the winner, but I don't remember what it is. But it's very weird for a league that for the longest time was so against sports betting and didn't want Vegas to be named the Aces because of sports betting. And now all of a sudden, the the All-Star game is in Vegas. Let's have the players play blackjack on a huge scale.
Yeah, it definitely weird. I like it. I like that NHL is kind of going above and beyond this season and kind of just keeping it from the simple, All-Star game, skills competition that we've seen the last few years. Yeah, they've switched it up here and there, but it really feels like it's going to be a spectacle this season. Just the pictures from some of the outdoor events, like I'm looking at it right now, that blackjack event looks like it's going to be really, really cool.
Mhm.
The fountain face off, whatever that is, it looks like they're playing hockey on a ice discs in a big old fountain.
I think
I
it's a
don't know.
target shooting thing. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's exciting. It feels like for once I'm gonna actually tune into the All Star Skills Competition and have something to look forward to that nobody has any real expectations as to how it's gonna go. Um, Pretty cool stuff there. I'm looking forward to it. Like we said, Jordan Kyrou in the fastest skater competition. Who knows what other skills competitions he'll take part in? It should be exciting there. And then,
What's the one you're most excited for? If you had to pick one.
I mean, but the bias answer is fastest skater because I want to see. I've been talking about Jordan Kyrou's speed. We both have for the
Mhm.
entire duration of this podcast, even before his breakout. So I definitely would like to see a statistical measurement of just how fast he is. I'll tell you what I'm not looking most forward to, and that is Machine Gun Kelly's performance. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that one.
I will say though, in terms of just like press and like pop culture appeal, it's a pretty good get
It's better
by
than who was it? Kid
the
Rock last
NHL.
year or
Yeah, that was
something? Oh
brutal.
god.
Getting MGK after, like, obviously the dude had to change his entire genre after
He
calling
did.
out Eminem and just getting absolutely eviscerated. So
Mhm.
that's a story for another day. But his new genre is
Good.
kind of cool. His last album, kind of bangers. Going pop now and dating Megan Fox. Now
And
they're
doing weird
engaged,
stuff doing weird
doing
stuff with
weird
Megan
stuff.
Fo
But
like, carrying
look,
around each
props
other's
to the
blood in a vial on their neck. I don't know.
dude. Megan Fox tells me to carry around her blood in a vial. I'm gonna do it too if it means I'm gonna put a rock on it. So all
Okay.
props and respect to MGK. I respect what he's doing there, and yeah, honestly, dude's in the tabloids right now. Just proposed to Megan Fox, literally. So I think
Fair
in terms
enough.
of promotion and in terms
Fair
of
enough.
putting themselves into the tabloids, it's probably a good look for the NHL.
Fair
But
enough.
what I think could be a better look for the NHL and the event that I'm most excited for, begrudgingly the most excited for, is the breakaway challenge. And I feel like in years past, there's been a lot of discussion on how to make it better and like all these things because we know we have players that have the creativity now, right? I mean, Zegras is doing insane things. Obviously, you've got the all stars and the vets that are out there that have just wicked shots. And
Mhm.
Kucherov literally coined like a breakaway move after himself. So it's not the lack of creativity that is holding back the breakaway challenge. I think here's how you fix it, right? So you
Okay.
take the goalie out of the net. Because I'm just thinking of like the slam dunk contest and the way that the NBA has done that over the years. I'm more excited to watch the slam dunk contest at times, definitely, than the actual NBA All Star game, just because a lot of times it's a score fest and people don't really try, right? But slam dunk contest,
Okay.
you go home with that trophy. That's a flex and a half, right? And I feel like for the NHL, they have an opportunity to do that as well. Give the winner a bomb trophy that's made out of bronze and has some sweet looking like statue on it, right? Give them something to try for. Take the goalie out of the cage. Let them go full on creativity, whatever they want to do. You get points based on shot placement, shot creativity, and shot difficulty. And you'll have judges that can do tens, nines, eights, whatever.
Okay.
Celebrity judges, whatever you want. And then at the end, whoever wins gets that bomb trophy. I think honestly, just follow what the slam dunk competition did and use the same thing for a breakaway because it's like I get having a goalie in net complicates it a little bit more and brings up the level of difficulty, but like the slam dunk competition, there's always going to be a guy in the lane when you're throwing a slam dunk down, unless it's a breakaway.
Right.
But there's no defender in that. It's just you and the rim. And I think for hockey, it should be a similar kind of like man versus the net and then just try to do the coolest thing that you possibly can and get it on net at the same time. That would be awesome in my opinion.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, hey, who knows? It might not be out of the question with some of the events that they're throwing out there this year. Who knows if fan response is good to them kind of expanding boundaries a little bit and doing things that are a little atypical for a skills competition. Maybe they'll get even fancier with it next year. I would love to see them just do it in Vegas every year. Just with that
That would
amount of
be cool.
obviously, you can't do that. You got to give it to different cities, but just something about Vegas and like you said, like the outdoor blackjack shooting and the giant fountain thing. You're not going to get that in pretty much any other hockey city in the country.
Mhm.
So there's something special to be said about that for sure. That being said, we do got plenty of other random stuff to cover in the second and third segments of this episode. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Talking about Super Bowl, Tom Brady, a little more hockey, all that fun stuff. But first, you guys have a prediction on the Super Bowl. Well, Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the playoffs right to the big game in a couple weeks.
Josh,
BetOnline.net.
right now, give me your color
Yeah.
of Gatorade for the Gatorade splash. Off the cuff. You had to pick. I'm going yellow.
I would.
Feels
I'm
like a
thinking.
yellow year.
I'm thinking. Red.
I think they're
Classic.
fruit punch guys.
Classic
I
fruit
respect
punch.
it.
Well, okay. I'll get into this tangent afterwards, but
Okay.
I'll get there because BetOnline.net remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just football. BetOnline has up to the minute info on pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, along with live real-time updates of current games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available for the 2022 season. BetOnline, where the game starts, and we'll be right back. All right. See, so my rationale with red Gatorade is, when they're making those big jugs of Gatorade for the Super Bowl, right? They're not just getting 24 bottles of fruit punch Gatorade, screwing the cap off and dumping them in. They're using like the powder packets. So first they put in like tons and tons of packets of powder, and then they just like put like a hose in there and they fill it up. So that off the bat, you're not gonna. I assume you're not gonna find like, I don't know, the white glacial freeze Gatorade, or like the weird green and lime ones. If you're getting these like
I
big
think I've
industrial
seen
sized
purple before
packets,
though.
so right, that's what I'm saying. I feel like you're kind of limited to the classic fruit punch red, the lemon lime yellow, and then like the cool blue, maybe purple. But like it's really those big three that I feel like are gonna be in rotation. And my heart wants to go
Orange
with cool
though.
blue. Yeah, orange, of course. Orange could definitely be an option, especially, Cincinnati Bengals, an orange football team.
Right.
They might like orange Gatorade. I don't know. It's definitely an interesting conundrum. I would love to see them come up with something fancy though, and like pour out like the green Gatorade. You're like, wait a minute, is that the cucumber flavor?
I want to see the odds too. Like, how do you favor one color over the other, or are they just a straight blanket of the same odds? It'd be
Guess
interesting.
we'll have to wait and see. Guess we'll have to check out betonline.net and find out. But yeah, so switching gears a little bit. Apologies in advance if this isn't your thing, but it is the Super Bowl, so we figured if there's ever a time to talk a little bit less about the Blues and more about other sports, it's when A, the Blues aren't playing, and B, the Super Bowl is happening. So on one side, you got the Cincinnati Bengals, led by second-year phenomenon Joe Burrow. And rookie receiver Jamar Chase. Houday Bengals underdog story, amazing. On the other hand, you have the Stan Kroenke owned LA Rams, who have maybe one redeemable asset in Matthew Stafford. I see people that are like, "Oh, Odell needs a ring." What? For quitting on his team and refusing to play and forcing himself onto the best team in the NFL, personnel wise, not to mention Stan Kroenke. Come on.
The Stan Kroenke one is where I draw the line. And even if the LA Rams could be the most entertaining football team of all time, have the coolest jerseys of all time, have the most likable players of all time, and I'd still want them to lose every single game just because of that, man. And it hurts because this comes like having this guy uproot this team from a blue collar city like St. Louis, who There's not a lot. There's not a whole ton to do here. I'm not saying it's boring by any stretch of the imagination, but a big part of our identity as a city is our sports team. So for him to just come in as a St. Louisan, as a guy who's from the area, and just uproot all of that just to make more money in LA, is sickening to say the least. It's the stuff of supervillains. It's the stuff of like what you watch on TV. You think, oh, that's not really realistic. No one would ever do that. Stan Kroenke epitomized that, and
He's
he
a
showed us
supervillain.
that, it's worth it because literally everything's going according to his plan. Show up court for a lawsuit and get a little nervous and then throw $790, $790 $800, guys. We'll
Might
see
as
you.
well have been.
Might as well have been, yeah, because it's nothing. Throws it to a bunch of lawyers who just want to get off with a payday, and then swept under the rug, never talked about again. Now he gets to literally host the Super Bowl in LA. His LA Rams are the home team, even though they don't have fans.
I
They didn't even have.
didn't even
Dude,
think of
the
that until right
49ers
now.
fans
It is at
flocked
SoFi
to it.
Stadium this year, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's literally at their stadium.
That doesn't happen often.
Right. It just happened last year, but that was the first time ever.
Of course it did.
This single scenario in my life has led me to believe that karma does not exist, because if it did, Stan Kroenke's team would not have made the Super Bowl, or Stan Kroenke would have had a heart attack, or something would have happened. Or maybe there's still time and he gets blown out and LA just bombs as a football team and
That'd be awesome.
they relocate somewhere else. Maybe. That would be sweet. But I just don't foresee it happening. At the very least, I think the Bengals would win, and it would be a close game. I just don't see them blowing them out. So, but yeah, that just made me disprove the idea that karma exists, because if it did, then Stan Kroenke would get his comeuppance, and he hasn't.
Maybe he will. Maybe he will. Look, yeah, it's frustrating for sure to see, because like that Rams team is so good. Like just
Well, yeah, I mean,
so good.
They literally just put together a Pro Bowl team and gave up all their draft picks to do it.
Right.
Pretty
Yeah.
easy to do if you're an LA team.
It's a pretty
Everybody wants to
intriguing
go
underdog
there.
story for sure. LA, who you could argue did not work at all for the team that they have. It's the Lakers syndrome. It's the same thing I complain about the Los Angeles Lakers. They had terrible asset management for years and years and years, and then LeBron James was like, Hollywood is real close to where the LA Lakers live. It's the same thing.
And that's why you kind of, to some degree, you have to root for the Rams, because they're just the epitome of an underdog and homegrown talent, like Matt Stafford, who's played there his entire career, and Odell Beckham Jr., who's played there his entire career, and Von Miller, who's played there and poured blood, sweat, and tears into that organization. There's nothing more I would love than for the Los Angeles Rams to go out and win with this team that they've had together for so long and fought through so much adversity in their time in LA, from trading for the first overall pick in the draft right when they got there, to seasons and seasons of hardship under Jared Goff and Todd Gurley. Yeah, it's gonna make me sick if I have to watch Stan Kroenke.
Don't forget about Aaron Donald, who's built like a refrigerator, but still feels the need to put his gigantic baseball bit-sized hands around players' necks when they piss him off.
That's true. He does have a temper, but out of all of the players,
I love Aaron Donald. We're just slandering just for fun.
He's
slandering just for the sake of slander.
And he was actually, so out of his draft, a lot of people were like, "Oh, don't draft him. He's a tackle and he's small, like he's undersized." And now he's probably going to be like a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the best defensive tackles of all time. Has to get double teamed and even triple teamed sometimes, because he consistently beats double teams. Like, that's nasty. He deserves a Lombardi. Not with the Rams though, because they're the spawn of Satan. Anyway.
Yeah. It's certainly going to be a heck of a game. When we come back from this last break, I'm going to get Tommy's Super Bowl score prediction, my Super Bowl score prediction, and then we'll close things out by, again, not talking about hockey. Talking about my favorite football player of all time, the greatest football player of all time, the person who raised me on Patriots football, Tom Brady, in his retirement. I know people are going to love this episode. But before we get into that, got to tell you guys about Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it is now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind your counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. You can save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why choose to spend up to 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, right locked on in their How Did You Hear About Us box, so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. We'll be right back. All right, Tommy, real quick before we get into the final thoughts of today's episode, give me a Super Bowl score prediction.
I'm going Bengals over the Rams 35-14.
Oh, blowout. Listen, I think it is going to continue the trend of road teams hitting a walk-off field goal. I think Evan McPherson is going to have his third consecutive walk-off field goal in a row, because how pleasing a way for the Rams to lose than to get walked off on. I'm going with 31-28. Evan McPherson kicks the game-winning field goal and turns around and puts his hands up before he even sees it go through the uprights. That is my prediction. That is my prediction.
What a picture that would be! Can you imagine
goodness,
like the Inquirer photograph afterwards?
The back of his jersey.
Like it's got him turned around in the middle of both field goals with the ball going in over his head, and he's like this. That would I'm visualizing it right now, and I kind of want that more than a blowout.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the Joe Burrow cigar picture that we'll get. Oh man,
yeah, that would be.
Gotta wait and see though. Speaking of Super Bowls, I was fortunate enough to grow up and still remain a New England Patriots fan. Based on location, I'm not a bandwagon. I'm from Massachusetts. Sorry in advance, everybody that's gonna hate me talking about Tom Brady for the next 5 minutes. But hey, he retired. I feel like we gotta do it justice. Tom Brady retired a week ago, and then he unretired, and then he retired again. I mean, what can you say? He's Tom Brady. And it's definitely going to be a weird year next year, his first year out of the NFL. I'm sure Gronk's going to be out of the NFL. I guess we could try to talk about, like, well, I don't know. What is, as an outside fan, finally having him out of the game, what did Tom Brady mean to you growing up as a football fan, pretty much solely during his prime?
Yeah, so my earliest memories of Tom Brady are associated with Spygate, and for that reason, there's always been a bad taste in my mouth. No, listen, hang with me here, okay? There's always been a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to Tom Brady. As you probably know, we've had multiple arguments about it over the years on this podcast. And so my earliest years of being a football fan and a diehard Rams fan have been actively rooting against Tom Brady and the Patriots every single chance that I could get, because he was always in the Super Bowl and always beating everybody. And I just wanted somebody else to win, and I wanted it to be the Rams. They never even got close. Now we know why, because Kroenke was putting a plan in motion to move the team. So I was always hoping that the day would come that he would retire, get out of the league, let other people take his spot in the Super Bowl, because I was sick of seeing his stupid face there and him kissing his kids on the lips. Now that the day is here, I wish it never came. Because Tom Brady is the greatest football player of all time, the most decorated football player of all time. No one's ever going to – he set an unattainable precedent for quarterbacking in the NFL. Not only being the best at what you do, but the best consistently at what you do, and past the age of 40. I think he had his best career year this season in terms of passing yardage, and he's literally retiring. And he's going out on his terms at the top of his game. There's no way that anyone can ever match what Tom Brady's done at the quarterback position. And to be able to witness that as not only football fans, but sports fans, for all of us, whether you hate the guy, whether you love the guy, I completely agree with you. But you have to respect the fact that this dude was an icon in the sports world, pop culture world, and an absolute force to be reckoned with in the football world. and he just did whatever he wanted and said, "Hey, I'm going to go out and win 7 Super Bowls," and that's exactly what he did. He's up there with
Yeah.
Jordan. He's up there with Jeter. He's one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Jeter. Oh,
Yeah, just in terms of like pop culture, bro.
Okay, pop culture, fine. We don't need to get into that.
Like
anyways,
popular baseball players.
Okay, fair enough. I think my favorite Tom Brady stat is the graphic that pops up every once in a while of like if you divided Tom Brady's career into thirds, he would make the Hall of Fame 3 times.
Yeah,
like from like
nuts.
2000, his rookie year in 2001 to 2009, he had like 2 Super Bowls, couple MVPs, led the league in passing yards, whatever. And then you go from like 2010 to 2016, another 2 Super Bowls. I might be getting
I think
my
he had
timeline
one.
wrong, but
so it
whatever.
was 2000 to 06, he had 3 Super Bowls, and then 06 to 10, he had 1, but he had way more passing yards.
Yeah,
because I think that was in the span where he had that like 15-1 season where he lost to Eli, but he just played out of his mind.
Good times.
And then he also had that season in there with Randy Moss where he just put up 50 burgers on guys on a consistent basis.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I think it's 16 to
22 now.
Current, he had 3 Super Bowls as well. So yeah, you're bang on.
Yeah, three segments of Tom Brady's career that'll be better than probably
the entirety of Sam Bradford's.
You don't have to throw strays like that. I was going to say 3 different segments of Tom Brady's career. Any one of those segments will be better than, 30 out of the 32 quarterbacks in the league for the next 20 years. You're not going to see that recreated. It's impressive. And like I said, that's why we kind of got to talk about it on this podcast, even though this is a Blues podcast. When something as pivotal as Tom Brady retiring shakes the sports world, I feel like you got to do it justice. It's going to be weird. End of an era for sure.
Okay, so we're talking about Tom Brady and the Super Bowl, obviously. The Pro Bowl is coming up as well, so we can kind of transition this into, I guess we could end it with hockey as well. So obviously the Pro Bowl and the All-Star game and the MLB and the NBA and the NHL, obviously, kind of group those all together. Like, what do you like about the certain aspects of those All-Star games? Like for the MLB, I think one thing that's important and cool for the MLB is it actually means something, right? It's home field advantage in the World Series. That's kind of sick. So you're not going to get guys. I don't know if they still do that.
I could have sworn they changed.
But they
used to do that.
They used to do that, and that's cool because like you're going to get guys that go out there, especially if you think your team has a chance at making the playoffs and making the World Series. Like you're going to go out there and ball out, and that's what the fans want to see. Like that's why I feel like the All-Star game originated. Is not to like just have guys like take a weekend trip with their bros that they don't get to see all the time, and like the best players in the game just get to like rub elbows and like plan what super team they're going to next year. No, it's because it's for the fans. Like we want to see the best players playing their best sport, basketball, football, hockey, whatever. And I think having a goal and an accomplishment, something at the end of that, and I guess maybe there's like bonuses in the Pro Bowl, but like some of these guys have so much money, I don't think it really matters. So I think that is something that could be considered to make, because I like the NHL All-Star game, but it lacks the intensity, right?
Yeah.
Of like a real game. And like, I don't expect guys to go out there and like block shots and like lay out for stuff, but at the same time, it's like, it's just a completely different product than what we watched during the regular season.
Right. I feel like the NBA does 2 things well that I really like. It's that like they actually make the All-Star selection solely based on who are the best players at that time. It's not just one player from every team gets it. So like, when you're looking at, I don't know, so-and-so's career in the NBA and you're like, oh yeah, blank finals appearances. And then you always bring up 6 All-Star selections. Big deal. Doesn't have as much of an impact in the NHL, especially lately when it's just one guy from every team gets in. It's like, how can you weigh All-Star appearance for a guy like, I hate to bring it up, but Nazem Kadri, who didn't make it this year, right? Having an absolutely career-defining year.
He made it in on the Last Man.
Okay. So not named an All-Star
on the fan vote, but
not initially named an All-Star because you got to get one guy from every team. But then I don't even know who it is. So-and-so for the Montreal Canadiens, where no player has more than like 20 points this season, got in just because he
Who they
happened to
pick?
be
Suzuki, I think.
Suzuki. He's got like 20 points in 45 games because
Yeah.
nobody else on that team is good. It takes a little bit of the weight away, I think,
But
and that's a little
Stamkos isn't in it.
disappointing. Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the flip side of that is like, obviously, you're not going to be going out there and playing hard. So I would love to see the NBA or the NHL do what like the NBA does. You got guys like pulling up from half court, throwing down ridiculous
Mhm.
windmill dunks. And I'm
Yeah.
thinking this year we might see something like that, especially with the increase in popularity of the Michigan move and the Kucherov. I would love to see, guys kind of screwing around and like going for crazy moves that they only try in practice and
Right.
firing shots from center ice just because, hey, it might be fun. Like you got to go. NHL's in between right now. They're not going hard and they're not just goofing off. They're just kind of playing at 60%,
It's like,
which is
yeah, it
fun,
is like
but
an in
like,
between.
right. So like I would love to see them just commit to full, balls to the wall, crazy moves, and then like in the final game or in the third period or whatever, you turn it up and then you increase the intensity. Like in the NBA All-Star game where they try hard in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. Either way, it's going to be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I know Tommy's looking forward to it. And I hope you guys at home are looking forward to it because it's all we're going to be talking about here with no Blues games for the next like 2 weeks. So yeah, stay tuned if you're looking forward to enjoying that. Make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit that notification bell. That way you'll be the first to know whenever we upload a new podcast video. Follow us on all of our socials at Locked On Blues, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Hyman NHL. Follow Tommy at TWelcher15. Thanks so much for listening, and as always, let's go Blues.